Hi everyone, Newthany Year Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for our monthly segment, the Why You Know Review, where I go over a bunch of records that I didn't get a chance to review this past month, over the past few months, and sort of attack them in a gauntlet with a series of badly shot and edited videos, which originally go up on Twitter, at The Needle Drop. Follow me over there, it's good for ya. And I shoot all of these videos using this green screen over here. So here we go, without further ado, the Why You Know Review. Hey, it's more dark, moody R&B, yay! Except this project over here tries to play it a little druggy, a little grimy, a little weird. Belly is both a rapper and a singer on this thing, though I don't think he does either entirely well. And Consuela is easily one of the worst songs I've heard this year. So I don't know what else to say, just toss it onto the ever-growing pile of alternative R&B records that aren't that great. Can we just stop and admit to ourselves that this is basically hip-hop's answer to bad nu metal music? I mean, even Jonathan Davis is on this thing. Tech Nine, once again, just does not know when to stop. There are 30 tracks on this thing. This thing is 2 hours long. And over the course of that runtime, obviously, there are gonna be some duds. And this is maybe one of Tech's most duddy albums yet. And he's just jumping all over the place, so he needs these tracks where he's rapping fast, and he needs a club track too. Done. He's just so quantity over quality. He takes that approach with his songs and with his lyrics too, because the faster he raps, the more weak, bland, cringily hilarious bars he drops. I've found it. I've found it. I have found it, everyone. A major discovery. We got it, people. We found it. Proof that God hates us. That God hates us. That God hates us. That God hates us. Cupcakke is actually a pretty unique rap artist. I mean, this album is odd, and it is really rough around the edges, and that alone is going to turn most people off of it. But her stories of sexual abuse, which she personally had experienced, which stand shoulder to shoulder on this album with some of the raunchiest songs in rap music that I've heard this decade, certainly make this album a sort of interesting experience. Plus that one LGBT track is pretty intriguing too. Some weird hip house tracks on here. Her flows are kind of clunky and awkward occasionally, but she kind of has this deep, raspy tone to her voice that makes her sound pretty distinct. I guess I can say this is a diamond in the rough. The very rough. Tom Morello and Zach De La Rocha could have gotten together and created a pro-capitalist polka album with lyrics about their favorite items on the McDonald's dollar menu, and it would not have sullied the memory of Rage Against the Machine quite as much as this album here does. Damn! That's some good screamo. Oh God. Oh Jesus. I'm done. Done. This is actually a pretty cool compilation. I like it maybe even a little bit more than Volume 1 of PC Music. For one, the crop of songs here is more diverse. A few of my favorite singles from the labels on here, like High from Hannah Diamond. And the production generally is definitely not as gimmicky or as obnoxious as it was on Volume 1. PC Music, on the whole, is definitely sounding more mature, and are coming through with some legit and well-crafted fusions of dance music and pop. And I'm not saying PC Music has lost their sense of adventure on this thing. There are a few wildly experimental cuts in this compilation I like a lot. Still though, maybe the label has lost a little bit of their quirk on this one, but I think this project is pointing in a fresher, in a newer, and a more interesting direction. I don't know. I don't really get the appeal, or at least it doesn't appeal to me. I mean, it's just kind of like another helping of suburban malaise with sort of a hip-hop twist to it now. It's not awful, but it's just sort of inconsistent. A lot of these short intermission tracks don't really add to the album all that much. The LP is already short as it is, and I don't really feel like it's that distinct either. I mean, after listening to 16 tracks of Kevin Abstract's music, I feel no closer to really understanding who he is as an artist. And considering how many times he changes from guitar ballads to dreary pop songs to indie hip-hop to sunshine pop, I'm not even really sure if he knows. And I'm just kind of indifferent toward it at the end of the day, even though there are tracks like Empty and Miserable America that I think are true standouts. And if there is a musical direction I would like to see Kevin Abstract go in the future, it's definitely there. Either that or he needs to make these spoken word tracks, these guitar tracks, a little more compelling, because they really aren't as is. Sure, there's some points on this thing that get a little redundant, but I would rather dance to this than more than half of what passes as EDM in 2016. Plus those textures, those sound effects on the song Deus Ex Machina. Good production, good touch there, Joel. And some of those 80 progressive synths that sort of pop up here and there throughout much of this album, also really nice. Well, honestly, it's better than Warlord, so that's a good thing. Can't deny that. So he's like improved in a way, you know? You can take an album like this and use it to make an effective argument against freedom. Because how can we live in a truly great country when people are allowed to do this? This thing is artsy, but it's not too artsy. You know, there's a bit of a personal sort of struggle to some of these songs, but it's not too struggly or preachy. It's very mature. It's very responsible. I'm doing my taxes. Ah! I know this thing is just a covers album, but how did this end up being so grimy and gritty and good? God, for a Rolling Stones album, at this point in their career, really at this point in any band's career, this is so good. Such raw energy coming from this thing. And they show such an immense amount of appreciation for the vibe, the sound, the tone of those original blues songs and recordings. God! They just did it so right. It's not a perfect album. It's not an amazing album. Most people will probably find it to be sort of dated. But god damn it, they did it the right way. I like Cakes the Killa's club tracks quite a bit. I think they're some of his best tracks, but he just went so hard in that direction on this new project that there's not really that much variety on this thing. And I think he's a really talented artist who could be doing a lot more than he is doing on this project. What I liked so much about the Eulogy when I first stumbled across his music is that he seemed so eclectic and so left field and was, you know, willing to hop on top of instrumentals that I think most rappers just wouldn't even have the technical ability to even think about touching. But this new project over here just goes in so much more of a predictable direction, and I'm not really digging it all that much. You know, if you were like me and totally skeptical of Odd Future when they originally dropped and you didn't, you know, really give their music all that much weight, maybe it is time to kind of re-listen to Hodgy's music, because he really seems to have progressed a lot over the past few years and has become an entirely different artist, matured quite a bit. All of that annoying brattiness of his early Hodgy Beats music has completely disappeared. I don't think he's necessarily come into his own or has delivered something all that distinct on this new record over here. Like, I'm not really all that crazy about the album, but I do think he is worth visiting again. I do think he is worth giving another shot, because, again, he has really kind of recalibrated quite a bit. And this, it's not all that bad. This was actually a surprisingly good EP, very classy, very peppy. It has a few revisions of songs from the last Shadow Puppets album, which I actually prefer to those recordings because on this EP they play it a little less straight, a little more loose, wild, dramatic, and then after those two tracks there's a whole series of covers on this thing. These guys take on a fall song, which they do a really good job with, really energetic, really intense. Then they do a Leonard Cohen track on here, which they do a very dramatic rendition of. There's also their take on Jacques Dutronx's Le Cactus, which is really swanky. This thing is just like some quality Brit rock and has a vibe and, again, a looseness to it that I wish was on the last Shadow Puppets album that they just came out with. And, I don't know. Give it a listen. I like it. I've had a lot of people this year ask me what I think about this record, why I haven't reviewed this album, and I don't really have too much to say about it. I mean, there's nothing really all that bad about it in my opinion. There's nothing really amazing about it in my opinion. It just kind of sounds like some emotional alternative rock stuff that would have been popular when I was a kid. That's really how it comes off to me, at least. Some of the lyrics seem pretty personal and aren't all that bad. It's you know, just okay to me. It's okay and Oh, damn, Frank, you did a good job on this one. Hey, buddy, proud of you, man. You did a great job on this album. I think this is FrankJavCee is the best guy. Yes, it's good. It's good. It's a good one. You got my number, Frank. Send me a sexy voicemail in that smooth, buttery, deadpan voice of yours, dude. Zishin, have you given any of these albums a listen? Did you love them? Did you hate them? What would you rate them? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave a nasty comment in the comments. All sorts of links next to my head, other videos, subscribe to the channel, official website, and that's it, everybody. Anthony Fantano, Yunoreview, forever.